This video will talk about the leadership transition process for your fraternity or sorority organization, as well as tips and requirements that fraternity and sorority life has for you or your group members as you navigate the process. This topic is important for a variety of reasons. Fraternity and sorority life recognizes that leadership transitions within fraternities and sororities are unique. We know that sometimes your regional or national organization prescribes timelines in terms of office. We know some transition on the academic year and others on the calendar year and others sometime in between. We want to emphasize how a smooth transition from one student leader to the next is truly one of the key pieces for success of the organization. Proper transitions prevent confusion. They prevent missteps and they help avoid mistakes made in the past. Just a little bit of effort in this process can make a huge difference for the incoming leaders and for the organization at large. At the very least, the person who is leaving the role should grant administrative access to the incoming officers on the group's Cats on Campus page, whether it be a president, treasurer, or different role. This will also ensure that your organization completes the re-registration process in a timely fashion. The incoming person should also ensure that they have access to the group's SOFO account where applicable. This can be done by following proper transition instruction through Cats on Campus in communication with your chapter coach from fraternity and sorority life. Of course, make sure the incoming officers have access to the organization's email and social media, any relevant listservs, any office doors if you have space in Norris, any storage units off campus, and anything else the incoming officer may need access to. All of that information, passwords, swipe access, need to be transferred over to your new officer. It's super important that a transition meeting between students is conducted before the person exits the role. This helps the incoming person understand the basic requirements of the role and gives that person a strong sense of direction. Of course, the incoming person can and should feel empowered to make the role their own. Doing something one way in the past doesn't mean the incoming person needs to follow that exact way of doing things, but it at least gives a helpful outline as to what the expectations of the role may be. We recommend the use of transition documents to house all information, including who is responsible for signing up for org fair tabling, who's helping with event planning and how, who are the community partners with whom you work with most frequently, who does community outreach, who are primary contacts, and how does general communication operate. Nothing is too obvious for a transition document, and that's because once this document is created, it can be edited from year to year. We want you to be thinking through the smallest details when considering your transition. Account logins, passwords, names on reservations or contracts, storage units, key access, contact information to off-campus vendors, SOFO account details, etc. are all incredibly important things to include in a transition document. If your chapter has had any conduct violations over the past few years, it's extremely important to share this information during your transition meeting. If you don't have access to letters or information, please reach out to your fraternity and sorority life chapter coach who can support you in filling in the gaps. We want to ensure that the same mistakes and missteps don't happen again, and a poor transition is not a good reason to repeat problematic behavior. You can find an overview of Fraternity and Sorority Life Standards of Excellence on the Fraternity and Sorority Life website under Current Members. Here, you'll find a link to the Standards of Excellence program, the Standards of Excellence PowerPoint, and the Policies and Standards of Excellence Acknowledgement form. Under Current Members, Forms and Documents, you will also find all relevant documents needed for Fraternity and Sorority Life on behalf of your chapter. Northwestern University's Fraternity and Sorority Life believes that every chapter has the power to elevate both its own organization and the broader Northwestern community. The Standards of Excellence program empowers chapters to chart their own course towards success while meeting the essential standards of compliance and efficacy. Recognizing that each chapter is unique, this program encourages chapters to assess their needs, plan strategically, and execute goals tailored to their individual vision. Through this approach, chapters can foster sustainable, positive change that aligns with overarching vision, mission, and core values of the fraternity and sorority life community. The key deliverables from Fraternity and Sorority Life Standards of Excellence are ensuring your roster is updated within 48 hours of membership changes, new members joining, members deactivating, members graduating, members going abroad, etc. Completion of relevant hazing prevention modules. Candidate notification forms that are due within 48 hours of determination of candidates that will with the new member process for NPHC and MGC organizations. Member registration form. These are due within 1 week of beginning a new member education process. This is required and the only way we can add that member to your chapter's quarterly grade report. By week 2 of the quarter, each chapter must present and submit the acknowledgement of standards of excellence to ensure the community is abreast of all requirements. 2 weeks prior to the first recruitment and intake event hosted by the chapter, you must submit an intent for new member education and recruitment, as well as the new member presentation agreement, if applicable. If the chapter plans to host an event where alcohol is present, the chapter is responsible for reviewing the policy on alcohol at events with undergraduate student policy and ensuring that the chapter adheres to all requirements outlined in that policy. Additionally, the chapter is responsible for registering any events with alcohol through the Cats on Campus platform in alignment with policy on alcohol at events with undergraduate student policy. Each chapter president must meet with their assigned chapter coach at least once per quarter. There is also standards of excellence tracking and accountability found on the Fraternity and Sorority Life website, where we track chapters' compliance with our expectations directly there. There are many reasons why we need your Fraternity and Sorority Life roster to be 100% up to date. We recognize that you might have a separate roster with your headquarters. Since our systems cannot communicate with one another, it is imperative that your roster with our office, as well as your Cats on Campus roster, remain up to date at all times. That means we need to know if someone holds a position, their first name, their last name, their Northwestern email address, their phone number, and their net ID. A roster without all of the above information will be marked as incomplete. Please do not make any copies of your roster. This information is for university officials and chapter leadership. While not explicitly listed in the Standards of Excellence, we want to take the time to highlight a few general expectations, the most important being communication. You should be in regular contact with your chapter coach. If they email you, please respond. We recognize that chapters of different sizes and needs make up this community, and we're happy to work with you, but we can't do that unless we know what's going on. An introduction to the group's chapter coach is important too. It's only fair to the chapter coach that you keep them in the loop when someone is departing from the organization and when someone is entering, especially in a leadership role. Offering them contact information for new student leaders is helpful. The incoming board should take the time to meet and build rapport with the chapter coach so they can better support the organization throughout the academic year. The expectation is that you meet with your chapter coach at least once per quarter. What to expect in chapter coaching? Your chapter coach is the liaison between your chapter and the Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life. While the expectation is that you meet once per quarter, you are welcome to meet as frequently as would be beneficial for your chapter. In the first quarter, you can expect to set some goals for your chapter. In the second quarter, you can expect to participate in the progress review. And then in your last quarter, you can expect to begin to prepare for your transition review. Starting with your council. Your council executive board is made up of your peers. The 4 councils at Northwestern include the Interfraternity Council, the Multicultural Greek Council, the National Panhellenic Council, and the Panhellenic Association. These councils plan events and set expectations for the entire council and all of the member organizations within it. They may set specific expectations for member chapters, and it is up to the council to enforce them. The Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life, also called FSL, is your first point of contact for anything related to university resources. We will hold you accountable to our policies and procedures as outlined in our Standards of Excellence. The greater Northwestern community means being good stewards of Northwestern University's resources. This also means abiding by all university policies and expectations laid out in the student handbook. Failure to do so could result in both individual and group accountability. You are all local chapters of an international organization. You have rules, procedures, and requirements from your headquarters. It is important to stay on top of everything. While they may look similar to FSL's expectations, we cannot determine completion of requirements from your headquarters. Please communicate with your chapter coach if you feel programs are duplicative, and we can see where we might be able to support. We can also serve as an advocate for you to your national organization. You all also have a local advisor who is a graduate of your organization. Utilize them. They're an excellent resource. Next, we're going to talk about where to find FSL information. The Fraternity and Sorority Life website is a great opportunity and resource to review and keep up to date with anything you might need in the world of fraternity and sorority at Northwestern. A couple of things we'd like to highlight today are the Greek letter. So as members of the fraternity and sorority community, you should receive the monthly newsletter from our office, the Greek letter. We also post each issue on our website under About, Social Media, and then you can see all of the Greek letter volumes here. On that note, if you aren't following our Instagram page, you should. We repost events all the time. You can follow us by clicking the Instagram icon on this page. Next, forms and documents. Under current members, and then forms and documents, you'll find all of the documents we have stated are required for your successful operation at Northwestern. You will find the event registration form for Standards of Excellence acknowledgement form. You will find intent for new member education and recruitment, new member presentation agreements, and candidate notification forms. You'll also find the member registration form on this page as well. Under current members, Standards of Excellence, you will find all information related to the Standards of Excellence program. If you click Chapter Standards of Excellence Compliance on the right, you will see how we track compliance for all of our organizations at Northwestern, as well as all requirements for the quarter that you're currently in. Additionally, we also have an FSL calendar. Under current members, upcoming events, we have an FSL calendar that all chapters can utilize. As a leader, we highly recommend syncing this calendar with your personal calendar. This is another great way to advertise your chapter's events, as well as encourage chapter members to go support other groups' events. This calendar not only includes open to all events from other chapters across the fraternity and sorority community, it also includes fraternity and sorority required events. For example, this April 30th harm reduction meeting at 5 p.m. As a leader in the fraternity and sorority life community, we have high expectations. We believe meeting those expectations begins with a good and proper transition. Thank you for watching.